YouTube? Welcome to another episode of Ahead of the Game Podcast. Instant reaction, we had the Bills play the Dolphins. Very, very interesting game. Don't forget to like, subscribe, make sure the notifications are on. Let's get right into the game. I think the problem in Miami is ultimately Tua now at this stage in his career. I think the arm strength is gone. I think his command of the offense is kind of gone. He used to be on time. Now I think that he's declining as a player right before our eyes. The arm strength is gone. He's never been an out-the-pocket type of quarterback. And now he's missing easy reads. And ultimately, that was the story of the game. He played a clean game. Don't get me wrong. He was making the right reads in the early stages of the game. But I just think that the coach, they got it right with the coach. I don't think it's time to move off of the coach because let's just put it like this. You're 0-2. You're going to Buffalo against Josh Allen. And the offense and the defense plays as hard as they can. I think that the coach, I made a video saying that I think his time is up in Miami, but I think that you don't play that hard for a coach that you don't really want to listen to or play for. You know what I mean? It is early in the season. We've seen teams quit ultimately on the coach because they're tired of his voice and they don't want to play for him. You don't go out and play as hard as they did for a coach that you don't want to play for. And I think ultimately that it's time to, for Miami, they don't have to tear it down all the way to the bottom. I would get rid of Tua and trade Tyreek for draft picks. Somebody will pay something for Tyreek Hill because you can't teach speed. So I don't think they have to tear it down all the way to the studs because you have talent there. You have two running backs in Ollie Gordon and A-Chain. You have Jalen Waddle there. And with some of those picks, you could rebuild the offensive line. And I think, your 0-3 is hard to dig yourself out of the 0-3 hole. You're probably going to be picking top 10, top 15. And ultimately, you can rebuild this thing quick if they want to. I don't know what they're thinking, but my biggest takeaway was I think Tua is the biggest problem in Miami because he just doesn't uplift his players. You know what I mean? He doesn't make his players better than they should be. Waddle should be goddamn a star by now. Tyreek Hill was a superstar when he came to Miami. Tyreek Hill is just a guy. I'm not going to say just a guy. Tyreek Hill is just a star now. And I don't think Tua uplifts his guys and makes them into stars or superstars. Excuse me. And I think that, like I keep saying, they have the coach right. You don't play as hard as you do. I get it's their job. I get you get paid to play a game. But you don't go out there. You already know the situation. You're 0-2. You're in Buffalo. You're going against the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen. And you play as hard as you can. And ultimately, was in the game until Tua threw the interception. And again, that's why I think that ultimately Tua, his time has ran out in Miami. And again, this is not against Tua. This is just what I saw. I see him declining as a player as we speak. I just don't see the same Tua that was on time, on schedule, passing for 200-300 yards, making his guys better. And that's just what I saw watching this game. And don't get me wrong, Buffalo Bills defense they're not world beaters. This defense is they're not even close to being just top defense. You know what I mean? And they ultimately could have won this game. They could have won this game. This game was a lot closer than a lot of people thought. But again, I think if Tua was the Tua of old and uplifting his players and making the right reads, I think they would have ultimately won this game. Let's go to the Buffalo Bills side of things. Again, the Buffalo Bills, they're Super Bowl contenders. They're going to make a run. They're going to make a playoff run. My two biggest concerns for the Buffalo Bills are they don't have any big play wide receivers at all. It's supposed to be Keon Coleman. He shows up every 2 to 3 games. The other biggest issue is they have no pass rush. And that's my problem with Tua is because he wasn't getting pressured. He's just not the guy anymore. And for Buffalo, they don't have a consistent pass rush. You go get Joey Bosa, you have Rousseau there, and you can't get consistent pressure rushing for. That's the problem with Buffalo. And if you have to send more people to get pressure, that's a big problem when you play against Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, and all these other quarterbacks. Because if you send more, they're going to carve you apart, or they're going to make plays with their feet. So my biggest two issues are the Buffalo Bills don't have a receiver that can take the top off. They just like to dink and dunk down the field. Hopefully Josh Allen makes a play and let's score some points that way. And that was the biggest takeaway from yesterday's game. And even when they played, the Jets, is the same thing. Hopefully James Cooks breaks a long run. Hopefully Josh Allen makes a play and he can get us a chunk play down the field. And I think that's a big concern from them. Their receivers aren't really big play guys. There's nobody to stretch the field. And again, it's supposed to be Keon Coleman, but he only shows up every other game. And that's a big concern for me. And I get you try to rely on the run game with James Cook and you try to get Josh Allen to get you guys a play, but that has been the story for the last 4 or 5 years. The same combination. We're going to hope that Josh Allen can make a play and hope we can run the ball and hope we can win the game that way. And it hasn't worked yet. And it's not going to work, I don't think, again, because you can't live like that. Defensively, that is a concern. They can't get any pressure, and I think their defensive backfield, if they play a team that can actually pass the ball, it's going to be a long game for the Buffalo Bills, because the way that Tua, Tyreek, and Jayden Waddle were just able to easily pick up 3rd and 10s because you can't get that pass rushing 4, and your DBs aren't really that good, and they're getting beat on 3rd and whatever. That's a big concern. I think that the defense Buffalo is going to be in the playoffs. I know this. They're 2-3-0. I don't know right off the top of my head, but I think the biggest concern is their defense, and they don't have a big play receiver. And they're going to rely on Josh Allen to save them. Ultimately, this game was very entertaining. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this game. The team, Buffalo did what they were supposed to do. They were supposed to go out there and win the game, and that's what they did. But again, the biggest concern was they don't have that guy on the outside, man. Like, they don't even have a okay guy on the outside. And I think that's why Joe Brady runs the ball so much. I think because he knows we can't just pass the ball not every play, but they can't really get anybody open down the field. And that's going to be a big problem coming through the weeks. It's only week 3, and I that's a big problem. And defensively, they can't get pressure rushing 4. They have to send a blitz to get pressure. And I get you can send a blitz to get pressure, but if you live by the blitz, you die by the blitz as well. And again, so Buffalo, the biggest concern, they need a receiver that could take the top off, or they need a consistent receiver. And their defense allows a lot of time in the pocket when they're rushing 4, and they have to blitz to get pressure. The Dolphins, I think that they have the foundation with Mike McDaniel, because you don't go down there and play as hard as you do if you don't care about playing for the coach. I think that they need to they're 0-3. I think they probably need to get a quarterback and rebuild the offensive line. Other than that, I think they have the foundation to be good eventually. Like I said, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this game. The team that was supposed to win, they won. But watching this game, that was my biggest concern. Goddamn, the Bills have nobody to throw the ball. Not going to say to throw the ball to, but to make that big splash play. And their defense, they're going to give up points. And Josh Allen's going to have to play Superman eventually. They haven't played him yet, but eventually Josh Allen's going to have a Josh Allen game, and he's going to have to, the defense is not going to respond. He's going to have to put on that cape. But again, this was another episode of Ahead of the Game Podcast. Appreciate you guys for listening. Love talking to you guys. Love when you guys comment. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on Sunday. Love Sundays. Appreciate you guys.